I did want to know if you can share about your price. The price for my house, just the house, was around $3,000, and of course, I had other fees and stuff on top of that. But that's way down on the low end.
Yeah.
And most houses are not going to be that cheap. I was kind of curious to know what ballpark yours was, and do you consider that to be like low, mid-range, or high price?
I don't know what to consider it, but I spent $7,000 on mine, and that included, like, your house was filled with all the things, and one of the deals that we had was that they would remove everything from the house. So we wanted the house completely vacant because he had all his things here. I mean, clothing, everything, like your house. And even though, like, I thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of dig through it, I thought it would be a nightmare to have to actually clean it all out. And so that was kind of one of the deals that we had. So it was $7,000 with including the removal of everything. And on top of that, we had to pay for the fees, the title transfer. We did have to help out a little bit with, the lawyer fee, with tracking all the people down. And we had the house assessed with a real estate agent. So they assessed like the condition of the house, and they did a few other things. So in total, it was like $10,000, I think.
Okay.
Total. So
right.
Not bad, not good, but
yes, I'd still say that just to me, just from the prices that I've seen listed online, that's still in the low end.
Yeah,
it's not expensive.
Well, I mean, for me, it was just shocking that it was that low considering the location. I thought, because the historical value of like this town, and so that was kind of, I thought 10,000, why not? You can't buy a house for $10,000 in the United States. You can't buy land for $10,000. So
yeah,
especially like like if you're near the ocean, like I am, like I can literally throw a rock and hit the ocean, and so then in America, I think a property in this location, it would be, I don't know, 10 times, 20 times the price. So
just for the land, right?
Yeah, just for where you were. So I was happy with the price. Hadn't probably low end for sure, I think. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. What about as far as the location is concerned? How do you feel about the climate overall, and the safety from nature and all of that? Because when I was actually my agent, it was kind of funny because he tried so hard to talk me out of buying the house, and so he used every caution that he could to try to get me to not buy. But even like on the danger zone map, there's nowhere around here that's prone to earthquakes. This is probably the least earthquake prone place in all of Japan. So that's not an issue. And there is there are some small mountains nearby, but when you actually look at the map, it's outside the cautionary zone and very, very far from the danger zones for landslides. So it's not really in a bad spot. But in some of that area, because there's so much rain in Hiroshima, and because of the typhoons and all of that, sometimes it comes in, there are floods and there's some landslides. So he thought, maybe there will be a problem in the future. You should think about that. But when I looked at the maps, it didn't seem like a big deal to me. So I felt comfortable getting the house anyway. But the family, they lowered the price like 2 times.
I think it's funny that they haggled you down.
Yeah, it's everything was backwards because the agent wasn't trying to screw me. He was actually just he even talked to them to haggle the price down, and then they were worried I wouldn't buy, so they lowered the price a second time because it started at about $10,000, sell price, and it wound up at just under $3,000, and it was I didn't even have to do anything. I didn't try to haggle anything.
Yeah.
And I thought, doesn't the agent realize that he's making his commission go down?
Right.
But he was so worried about me getting a bad deal or something that I wouldn't like that he was trying to get me to just say no.
Right.
But after I visited the place and saw it, and I just knew I want this. It's just right for me. So I couldn't be deterred.
Well, I think that they have a different viewpoint of like old houses here, right? Obviously. And my experience when I first came to Japan, I was trying to rent an old house in Kyoto, and the real estate agent's like, you don't want to live there. And like, yes, I do. And he's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, yes, I do. I wanted it to be tatami, and I wanted it to be wood, and I wanted it to have that like Kyoto look. And I understand his viewpoint now because, they're not the most comfortable houses to live in, unless you're like, again, like you said, you're doing things like weatherproofing it, and that's the problem with these houses is that they're drafty and they're not comfortable. And I can understand from a modern person point of view, you don't want to buy that. You don't want to live there. You're crazy, right? So.
Yeah, and I was told that again recently. One of the nice ladies dropped me off. She got her friend to come out, and he's a carpenter. He came out to look at some of the stuff to try to figure out how to fix it. And his recommendation...
Move out.
His recommendation was buy another one.
Yeah.
Don't mess with this one.
But that's
Why don't you buy something that doesn't need fixing?
Yeah. And that's kind of the idea, I mean, I get it. They want to enjoy what they want to enjoy. They want to enjoy it now. And I get it. I'm the same way. Like I told my wife, at this point right now, I've been doing this for a year and a half. I'm tired, like I just want to start enjoying it. And so I get it. You buy something, you just want to move in and kick your feet up and relax, and so.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. When I come back to my apartment, as much as my apartment is nothing to brag about. It's very small and everything. But when I come in, I take my shoes off and I can just go fall down on the bed and go to sleep if I want to.
Yeah.
It's that simple. But not in my old house. It's so dusty and dirty, and I have to do some prep before I can go to sleep. I have to air up the air mattress.
Right.
I have to try to seal off the room so nothing comes in. I need to light some insect repellents. I need to spray some on my body, to keep the bugs away while I sleep.
Yours sounds a lot worse than mine. Mine is not that bad. I get the occasional like random insect, and never anything like your house, I think. Yeah.
Well, it's not quite as bad as it used to be because I did use those smoke bombs that are supposed to kill all the bugs.
Right.
And it wasn't 100%, but I can definitely see that it was a huge improvement.
Well, they've been penetrating your house for years now, right? So I mean, they
yeah. And that's another reason why I want to get that irori going again, because that actually drives bugs away.
Right.
So if I can just get like a chimney installed so it can take the smoke, some of that smoke out, then I can run it again.
Yeah.
And then in that particular room there, I think there won't be any issues.
That makes sense. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. It was just from my reading about the thatched roof and the irori. They say it's like a marriage. You can't have a thatched roof that's in good condition unless you have an irori going regularly, and you can't have the irori unless you have a thatched roof.
But if you have like a chimney, I don't know how it works, but you're basically collecting the smoke. I thought that because the smoke is hitting the straw, then it's going to kind of spread through the straw a little, and then that's what's going to drive everything away. But then if you're just channeling up one little area, is it going to have the same effect, I wonder?
Well, the way that I haven't been up inside the attic because the similar to your house, you're talking about ripping out the ceilings before, right?
Right.
if you rip out the ceiling, then you can see the thatched roof and all of the woodwork up there, and the very peak of the house along
you could
that
have
top ridge.
Yeah,
There's some open places.
That's good.
I think that I might not even need a chimney if I tear out the ceiling in those main 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And vault those ceilings and vault the kitchen ceiling, and then from there, who knows? Maybe
let's start a fire and find out, right?
Yeah. Not too big of a fire. Maybe it's just supposed to be like hot coal fire, just like the coals.
Yeah. Well, how about
smoke coming off
a tatami burning party?
Yeah, I'll try to make sure that I use like the flame retardant sealer.
Yeah.
Okay, now, based on your experience, what would you say are the maybe top 3 most important pieces of advice that you would give to somebody who's looking for an Akiya to buy in Japan?
Yeah, definitely do your homework. Make sure that you have somebody inspect the house, know what you're getting into. I think make sure that you understand what needs to be replaced, or what you can live with and what you can't live with, and know your, know your limits, I guess, what you're capable of doing and what you're not capable of doing. Definitely, if you pay somebody else to do it for you, it's going to be very expensive. Tradesmen, definitely not cheap. But if you're buying something that needs a lot of work, don't expect that it's going to be done quickly by yourself. If you're going to do it yourself, the process is probably going to take 3 or 4 times longer than you expect. And that's just normal, because I think we always imagine in our heads that, I can do this in the weekend, or it's just going to take me a week to do, but it never happens that way. And so I think people have to be patient. Go in with the idea that you have to be very patient, and that you may not move in right away, and so be prepared for that. Unless you're the type of person that, like, again, you can live with sleeping on the floor and living in a tent for a while and having the house dusty and full of material and things like that. There's some people that they buy an Akiya and they move right in and they don't do anything to it, That in the case of this house, I probably could have lived with the house the way that it was. It's just I answer to a different boss,
Yeah.
I don't answer to myself so much as I answer to my my wife, and so then she has things. But it's my fault too, because I completely went wild on the project, right? And so it's definitely not cheap, especially because I started this project right in the midst of Corona. The cost of materials and the cost of tools and everything just kind of skyrocketed and ballooned. And so then have an expectation of what it's going to cost too, because sometimes people don't realize it just because you're doing it yourself doesn't mean that it's not going to be expensive.
Right. That's one thing that I've told a few of my friends that are not in Japan, and they didn't realize that. They were surprised, is that power tools are priced like they're made of gold. I thought, man, if I could import tools, I would already be rich.
Yeah.
Because even the tools that are made here in Japan, like if you want a Makita tool, you can buy it cheaper in America.
Right.
If you buy it here where it's made, it costs like 3 times as much.
And like your TVs, ovens, all those things. You buy an oven, it's like this big, and it's the same price that we would pay for a huge oven in the States. But yeah, what I did was, Mercati. I buy my tools online. Most of them I try to buy used, with the idea that these tools already kind of hold their value, and so then if I'm buying it at a used price, eventually when I finish the project, I can sell the tool almost for the same price that I bought it for, and that's kind of mitigating some of that cost, right?
Right.
But again, if you buy used tools, you don't know what you're gonna get, so you have to be very careful.
Yeah, That's true. I bought recently a used sander, a used nail gun stapler combo, and a used DeWalt jigsaw.
Yeah.
And I mean that jigsaw is really beefy. It's really strong, really heavy. And the prices that I got were excellent. And I know for a fact that if I resold them, I could actually get back more money than I paid to get them.
Right, right.
That's one of the things I wish I had access to the military base, because a lot of the soldiers there, when they're leaving Japan, they just have so much stuff they have to get rid of. And sometimes they'll either give it away or just sell it for, really, really cheap, but it's inconvenient for me to try to get that stuff because I don't yet have a car, which I'm trying to work out. Hopefully, if everything goes smoothly, maybe in about the next 10 days, I'll have one. So I'll be very happy about that. But once that happens, I could actually drive over there maybe and meet somebody to pick up stuff like that. And that would be a big money saver. Well, if I could figure out a way to get, base access, then I would start dealing in cars, because a lot of them buy cars and then suddenly they have to leave in like a week. They need to sell their car in just a few days. Right. Otherwise, they're stuck. They can't leave until they get that done. I thought, man, some of these cars are going for like 25% of what they're actually worth, maybe even less. But getting it, actually transferred and getting the parking spot for it takes a little time. So
right.
I'd have to have some kind of dealership status or something with a large parking lot in order to handle that, and base access. My mind's always, trying to figure out a way around that stuff, The next question is also about renovations, because we talked earlier about how much you spent in total in getting the house, buying the house, paying for all the fees and everything. Do you have an idea of what you anticipate to spend on renovations, to the point where basically, okay, all the major stuff is done, from now on it's just maintenance and upkeep?
I don't know. I can only say like how much I've spent so far, and that's right. It's kind of a big number, but like 25,000, I think. When I saw that question, I was trying to think. Yeah, it's been about $25,000 invested in the house so far. But that's because we had to do, like, again, major work with the bathroom. So most of the costs went into like redoing some of the electrical upstairs, as well as the sewage lines and redoing all the pipes in the house, because they were. I remember when I turned on the water for the first time, like tons of pipes are just busting. And I was like, oh my God, what a nightmare. What have I bought? But it was pretty easy to fix, because I was ripping all the floor out anyways. When the contract came out, he's like, you got to rip everything out. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do that anyway. So I did most of like the demolition work, and then he did all the pipes. But including like wood material, like flooring and wall materials and all that bathroom stuff, it's been about 25,000. And we're kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now, where kind of like our spending has kind of gone down. Maybe like another 10 grand is maybe what we're going to invest before I can finally say we can live here. We have a few big ticket items to buy, which is a stove for the kitchen that we're going to do, like a induction stove, and just like 2 more rooms that we have to buy flooring for, and that's it, I think.
Okay.
That's a lot of money, I think,
Well, it's definitely a lot of money for renovations, but how do you feel about the overall cost? Do you feel pretty good about it?
No, I'm not happy about it. I'm not. My wife's not happy about it,
Well, I mean, compared to what though? What's the option? Like, if you buy a new house, I would expect it to be a lot more than that.
No, if we bought a new house in Japan, of course, is you're gonna spend over $200,000 for a new house, and you're gonna get what you're given, right? You don't really get to choose what kind of materials, but we've been using really nice materials, and we've been doing really cool techniques. Well, me, and I've designed the house the way that I want it, in the way that I feel is going to make me happy. And
Yeah.
my wife is happy with some of the things that I've done. Again, the YouTube channel is kind of like the beginning right now of everything. In the stage that it's in right now, I think it's really fun and cool and oshale, it's kind of stylish. And so that's kind of nice to have a house that I can say I designed it and I did it the way that I wanted to do it. So the cost is I'm not happy about it, but what would I spend that money on, right? Otherwise, this is a house that we're going to live in and we're going to enjoy together. And I want it to be a place where it's nice for my daughter to grow up in. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that my house will be a place where my daughter will want to visit. She's in university right now, so I'm still hoping that she loves Japan and all sorts of Japanese things, and of course she's into anime. But
so I have to know. So then you were married in the States before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got married. I won't say anything bad or negative about my ex or my marriage, but it was a mistake. I was, we from the time we met to the time we got married was way too fast. And we weren't really planning. I know she definitely wasn't, but I always wanted to have a daughter, and I even had her name picked out. But when we found out we were going to have a baby, we had completely opposite reactions. She totally broke down and didn't want to have a baby, and I was excited because I thought, I wonder if I'll have a daughter, and she was exactly what I wanted. She had red hair, blue eyes. She was awesome. We were like inseparable when she was younger. We just spent all of our time together. But when her mom went back to school, she's like, "Oh, I got my degree now. See ya." Met another guy, left me, took my daughter. So typical kind of American style, where the woman takes the kids and father doesn't get to really see his kids too much. So now I'm trying to rebuild that with my daughter. But she loves Japan, and she just needs to build more courage to leave her hometown. So she'll come over one of these days, I'm sure.
I was married in the States too, and I won't say it was a mistake. It was a good experience. I mean, it didn't end well, but it was a good experience. But yeah, it was a different type of relationship and different type of marriage than what I have now. But definitely my wife now she's very supportive and a good person. And I look at it as I didn't have children with my first wife, and I am lucky for that. So I kind of started having kids late. I was 40 when my daughter was born, so it's kind of late in the game. But I look at all those bad experiences and all those things that happened as the path that took me here. And and my daughter's born now, and I think if none of those things would have happened, then she wouldn't have been born. And so
yeah, I would go through all that stuff again just to keep my daughter. She's like the light in the whole situation. So like I said, and I don't say that lightly either.
Mistaken if I didn't do it, but then she wouldn't exist, right? So
right. I mean, you can go through so much terrible stuff, but that one light makes it all worth it. It's almost like digging through a coal mine and then finding this huge diamond. If you had never gone through all of that, there's no way you'd have gotten that diamond.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. It's okay. I don't regret it, but I can see where it's almost kind of like I went through all that just so I could have this awesome daughter.
And now you have a house that you'll be able to share when she comes, right? So that's good.
Yeah, and it's probably best that it's that she's not able to come over here right now anyway, because she definitely wouldn't want to stay there. I think she would say, "Where's the hotel room?" I don't. Yeah, cool house, Dad. I want to go to the hotel.
Or, you never know. I mean, it'll be an interesting experience for a few days, maybe.
Yeah, maybe she might be. Oh, I like camping. Camping?
Yeah, it's camping.
Yeah, it's like it. Yeah, it definitely is right now. I don't even have running water yet. I just have a rudimentary water collection system from the rain right now. But it's got some ways. It's got a ways to go.
About your situation, I thought, if I was closer, I would help you, but not so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But recently it seems like there might be a couple of people who can come lend me a hand, so I'm really happy about that. There's a lot of stuff I can't physically do right now, which is why we're here and having this interview. But
I just hope they're capable people. Like, I've had some friends come and try to help me, and they're just
in the way.
Guys, you guys are useless, man. Like, man, you don't have a single bone in your body that's useful. There's some people who are just they're inclined, mechanically inclined, and there's some people that are not, and my friends are just they've never done anything for themselves in their lives, so yeah. Tough.
Yeah, if I had some friends that were willing to come out to just clean, that would be a big help.
Yeah.
Because cutting grass and cleaning, I spend way too much time cutting grass. It's ridiculous the amount of time I have to spend. I mean, as soon as I cut it, it's a foot again. Yeah, it's originally like 2 meters, 3 meters tall.
Bro, like I have a path just because I walk to my door, but everything else is like a little jungle. I don't have much land, but the land that I do have, it's. And I'm sure the neighbors aren't happy about that, but hey, I don't have time to fiddle with the yard,
Yeah.
Besides, it's in the summertime. It literally is like a jungle. It's like Insectville, and I don't want to. Oh no, it cut off again.
You don't want to get bombarded.
My connection went out. Yeah, I said I don't want to disturb them because they're gonna disturb me. There's all kinds of animals here, insects. So then I wait now like 2 more months, and like December I'll have some time off. I go in there and I just chop everything down, and once and for all, because in the summertime it's a losing battle, I think. Yeah, and I'm not here enough to like deal with it. So
right. Yeah, I wasn't there for a few months when I got sick, and I had cut the grass right at the end of winter. Everything was kind of brown and dead, and I chopped it all down, and then I had to spend a few months off, and so I went back basically after spring was already in full bloom, and man, I was shocked. It was like a jungle. It was cut, and then it was a jungle,
I cut it all down like last January. I mean down to like the nub, the bushes and things like that. And yeah, when spring hit, it was just like boom.
Yeah.
And I was so shocked. I was like, man, that grew fast. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine say something to me about I said it was going to rain, and the rain here tends to be a little heavy, and out there in this huge yard with really big grass, if it's raining, can't really cut in that. And I mentioned that to my friend. He goes, "You're not going to cut in the rain?" I cut my uncle's grass in the rain. He might actually watch this video. I hope he does, because he told me that, and I just started laughing when I saw that, because I just pictured in my mind his uncle's yard is probably just a little overgrown, and it's not a big deal to go out with a push mower. But my yard cannot be cut with a push mower, and you can't even use a string trimmer on it right now, because it would just completely tear that string apart. The grass is taller than me, and you have to use a saw blade.
Right, and it's super thick. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the rain, you know how hard that is to cut, you know?
If I go into like the hardware store here in the countryside, like they have a huge section of like the big blades like you were using, like the big. I mean, it's like they have a whole row of those things, and I'm like, everybody must have that same problem here too, because I mean, these things are like right in the forefront of the store, right? And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
I saw some little old lady out there cutting several weeks ago. She had some kind of contraption that had like some kind of feed on the trimmer and a backpack on, and just little old lady just out there cutting with it. And I was like,
tearing it
holy
up.
cow, she looks
Yeah.
like a pro trimmer. I didn't even know where she got that. I haven't seen anything like that in the hardware store.
Yeah, it could be like pro level stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they don't waste their time with any of the cheap or stuff in the hardware store. They go directly for the pro stuff. I don't want to know how much that costs though. Um,
For me.
I did want to ask you if you have any thoughts of the Machiya style versus a Kominka style. Do you see any like major differences or benefits to one over the other?
I don't know the differences. You
Well,
tell.
I like to think of like the Machiya style as kind of like the traditional Kyoto type uh, building, you know, the old style with, you know, all the houses kind of closer together. And maybe with they often have, you know, second floor or something like that, and
Right.
darker colors. Kominka is more like kind of like mine, where it's got the thatched roof, really big layout with the hallway all the way around on the outside, and the sliding fusuma, I guess, doors that you can close, and you can open the outer windows like the storm windows or whatever.
I know like the Kominka style from when you explain it like that. In Kyoto, they're very drafty houses, I think. They're designed for summer.
Right.
So even though they have like those different partitions, I always felt like they were just really drafty. Um, I don't know. Maybe the matcha is just a newer building, right? I think is a newer style, I think. But I don't think they have any benefits or the pros and cons are probably the same, I would think. Just the style is different, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It just depends on
I
what you
like
prefer.
I like both. It just so happens that, you know, the place that I looked at happened to be in the countryside, and um, when you're like way out in the country and you're not, you know, the houses are not as close together,
Yeah.
and you have like the farmland and the rice fields, you tend
Mm.
to see more Kominka style.
I don't
And
know what mine would fall under. Hybrid? I don't know.
Oh, how old is your house, by the way? Do you know?
It was in the 60s, so
Okay.
it's not that old. It's not that
I,
new, it's not that old. The first floor kind of has that style where it has like the runner in the front, and that's separated by doors. But then also it's got the open style like wood beam roof, but at the same time it has a little bit more modernized hardware and things like that too as well. So I have no idea what they would call this house. I don't know.
gotcha. You know, mine is over 100 years old, but nobody knows exactly how old, because when it was originally built, there was no registry with the government office. It wasn't registered with the government office until I think the 1950s, but it was built a long time before that.
Right.
And I mean, so far the oldest thing that I found in the house is a Buddhist Bible, I guess you could say, and it was handwritten. If you look at it, it was hand bound and handwritten, and it's from the Meiji period, but it was written from texts that come from Edo period.
Right.
So somebody actually took an Edo text and copied it into this during Meiji period, and it has the date of each entry. The very first entry was 1900, and I thought that was very cool. I have no idea what the value of that is, but It's sitting right by the Butsudan. I still have the Buddhist shrine.
It definitely
in the
could be
house.
super valuable, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my Japanese colleagues, he came to visit my house. One of the few friendships that I'm cultivating that I'm very proud of. But he's a really nice guy, and he's told me some really interesting stories. But he visited one day, and he was able to actually open that and tell me some stuff about it, and I thought that was really cool because I couldn't read it.
That's cool.
But his ability to read the kanji is awesome. He's very good at that.
I got a few friends like that, and I envy them. I have no desire.
I wish I could, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Your situation, from what I've heard, sounds very positive, very good. It sounds like you got a really good deal. You were persistent. It took a little while, but you were persistent. Your family's happy. You got something that you're happy with. You're going to be able to keep and use for a long time. It sounds like a really good, positive story. I've still got a long ways to go with mine, but I've had so many good experiences with it. I also consider mine to be a success story, or a success story in the making anyway. But someone mentioned to me not long ago that a lot of foreigners, or there were a lot of horror stories about people like blindly coming in and just buying stuff and having a bad experience. But I haven't seen any of that, and I'm just kind of wondering if you've seen anybody do anything like that, or
No, I haven't. I mean, I read stories online as well, but I don't know anyone particularly that in my area who's actually ever done something like this. I have friends who've bought like modern houses, and they've had houses built, or they've bought, like condos, mansions, things like that. But I'm the only crazy person that's done something like this. I think that, I don't know. Are those horror stories real or not? I don't know, but I'm sure it's possible, because I'm sure there's a lot of really bad houses out there, so. Gotcha.
Yeah, well, you did mention something that reminded me of another question I wanted to ask earlier, so I'm glad that you said that. You talked about how you and your wife were on the same page from the beginning when you were looking for something and what you wanted to do. But was there anybody that tried to get in your ear and say,
and, like, as far as my family in the States, they didn't care. Her family, the only thing that they were against was that we were going to be living so far away, right? From where they live, it would be about 3 hours drive. So they aren't really happy with the idea that we're going to live so far away, because they want to be close to their granddaughter.
Right.
And so that was the only real discussion. But her parents are divorced, so her father was like, great. He's even already come here a few times, and he's visited, and he's checked out the house, and he thinks it's fantastic. He's like, when it's finished, I want to come and I want to stay, and he's really happy about it. And the mother is kind of the opposite, because she's like,
come to me.
Well, not only that, I don't know if my wife's gonna watch this or not, but she already knows my viewpoints and my opinion. But her mom's kind of how would I call it, like a little OCD, right? So she has to have like a really clean, really specific environment, right, to be comfortable. And so she has absolutely no desire, I think, to see the house, at least in the state that it's in right now.
Right.
Because she would not be comfortable, and she definitely would not stay here the night. I think if she came, she would stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of like, her perspective is kind of like, ill. Why would you buy something like that? Why would you live there? That's kind of like, for her, it's gross. But she's kind of special, right? She kind of, I don't want to say she has a condition, but it's kind of condition,
A strong preference.
It's a condition. I'll just go on and say it. It's a condition. She's got a condition. It's clinical.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's interesting because my dad And he'll never watch this video. It doesn't matter. I could make a Hollywood movie and I could become super famous. My dad still wouldn't go see the movie. But he does everything a certain way. And it doesn't matter if that way is right or wrong. That's just his way.
Yeah.
So if you have a different idea, you're always wrong. So
I'm the opposite. Look, it's your life. You live it the way you want, and that's your preference.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I'm not offended by her at all. It's just, if I have that idea with you, then you have that same idea towards me, you know, so please don't dictate. But she never really tried to dictate or try to convince us out of it. It was just one of those things where she was just kind of disappointed. Not disappointed, kind of disappointed when she heard that we did it, you know, but she never said, don't do it. She's just like, oh, okay, you're going to be far away. I'm kind of disappointed, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the Japanese, like, passive aggressive, you know, like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds kind of like the passive, indirect way of expressing disappointment.
Saying, yeah, don't do this. I'm not happy about it. So, but we did it anyways. And
so
now,
yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. It's kind of like it reminds me a little bit of what I learned the other day about would you like more tea? Would you like more tea? Would you like more tea?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then
it just means
go leave.
Yes, get out.
But you know, like she kind of came to terms, you know, she I think she still tries to treat me like I'm Japanese, and so she throws those little subtle hints always, you know, and she's realizing it doesn't work with me. She's like, either he's stupid, he doesn't get it, or he just doesn't listen to me. I'm like,
right, just doesn't agree. Gets it, but doesn't care.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I've only got a couple other questions. One question I just thought of earlier when we were getting ready, and I thought I would add it. Do you watch any other people on YouTube that are doing similar DIY and stuff like we're doing?
I do, of course.
Besides me, of course. I mean, I know you're like my biggest fan, right?
Just you, yeah. When I started the YouTube channel, I didn't, and the only reason I didn't was because just time. I'm not really a big YouTube person. I actually, before I started my YouTube channel, I never looked at YouTube. And of course, everybody knows the llama guy, right? Tokyo Llama.
Yeah, Jaya, the Tokyo Llama guy.
Yeah, and so then obviously I had seen some of his videos, I think just because I don't want to say is he famous? Is he huge? I don't know what to call it, you know, but he's
definitely well known, very well known in the space. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't want to have any sort of influence when I decided to do it. So I purposely didn't look at YouTube, and I didn't want anything to influence my ideas and what I wanted to do. But then after I started the channel, people like you and a whole bunch of other people started contacting me, and then I started to check out their channels as a result. So that I thought was kind of cool because it starts to kind of become like a camaraderie, a community.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I started getting invested into their projects, and I would like to see the progress and things like that. So it was only until after, I think.
That's cool. Yeah, and that's completely understandable. I got into watching several guys. Like I've been watching Jaya for a long time, Tokyo Llama, maybe ever since he posted like his second video. Maybe I started watching a long time ago because I was very interested in living here, and I love the old houses and stuff. So
house is a nice house. I mean, and I think that's kind of what makes his channel, I think, interesting for a lot of people, because the house that he bought was really cool. And I look at my house and I'm like, my house is not interesting. So and that's okay. I wasn't doing it because I wanted, you know, 1 million followers. To be honest, the reason I did the YouTube was because Well, a few ideas was one, my wife doesn't really help me, and so she doesn't really know the hardship that I go through. So I thought it would be nice to chronicle it and to have her see it. And then her family too, her family was kind of like confused, like, are you going to do this yourself? And are you going to be able to do it? You know, there's all these kind of big question whether you have the capacity or the know-how to do it. And then my friends and family back at home, they're really interested, and they're always saying, send us a video, send us a picture, send us a, and so I have the cameras, I have the knowledge, I know I have the software. I was a graphic designer in the United States, so for me it was very easy to like kind of set it all up and do it. So I thought it was an easy way for me to share this experience with my immediate friends and family. And then as a result, I thought, well, maybe there is somebody interested out there who wants to do this and they don't know how to do it. And I specifically said my first video, this is not a how-to video. I don't want you to sit there and be like, step by step, this is how you do it. It's just giving you an idea of what somebody did and showing that I was capable of doing it. And hopefully it inspires somebody. And so that's kind of the second result of it, I guess.
Okay, well that's cool. And one of the things that you're doing quite different than a lot of the other channels is like the humor aspect and kind of mixing it together with the sketches and stuff. But that's like a third element of work, because you know, just doing the DIY and filming it, that's 2 levels of work. But coming up with the sketches and stuff to do, that's a 3rd level of work. So I know that's not easy.
I don't like to.
Well, I'm not gonna push you one way or the other to do more or do less, because I really definitely want you to do what you want to do. But it was funny.
You want to do, and I, you know, my wife is like, do you really need to spend all that time doing that? And I was like, but then, you know, when she watches the video, she's like, when's the next one, right? And so I'm just like, yo, like, which one is it? Do you want to spend more time doing this, or you want to spend less time? But I do the humor portion of it just because that's my idea, right? That's my creativity. And I personally don't find my videos necessarily interesting if I was just like, hey, this is what I did, you know. And so then I want to inject my humor into it. And if I'm not injecting my humor into it, then I'm not really invested in actually making the videos.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I do it, you know, from my perspective. But it is a lot of work. It's an extra element, and it's not something that I'm doing in every video. But every video has to have like even just a little bit, or otherwise it's not interesting for me. I guess. Yeah,
a couple of my early videos, I put some funny pictures or something in one of my or a couple of my videos, and somebody commented, you know, I like your videos, but less funny pictures. And
yeah, you know, and I've had some people say that, like, not on the actual comment section, but they're like, I would actually like your videos more if you had less humor in them. And I'm just kind of like, well, I'm not here to please everybody, you know? Like, if you like it. If you don't, you don't. It's fine. I don't, whatever.
Yeah, it's so funny because you can have a lot of people saying they like this, and then you can have, you know, a lot of people saying we don't like that. We like this instead. And so you hear a lot of the people on YouTube saying you have to give your audience what they want, but that's impossible to give everybody what they want. For me, in my channel, I've got so much to do. I thought, man, I know what I want to do with the house, and I know what I want to do long term. You know, I want to get more houses and do more things. And as I go and I make more income, I want to do more and more and more. I would love to be able to actually hire crews and workers to do things, you know, and just keep getting more and more properties and various types of properties in different locations. You know, I'd love to have a network of places. That's just my big dream. And eventually be free to just make movies, you know, and have, you know, the Akiya, Kominka, Machiya type thing as a business.
There's there's here in Kyoto. There's a place called Heritage Homes. Do you know them?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure there's a gaijin that runs it because everything that they do is in English. And but the videos that I've seen, they're actually Japanese tradesmen, and what they do is they buy like really like 200-year-old houses, like 100-year-old, like yours, really old properties, and they dismantle them. And then they move them to modern areas. So if I buy like this really nice piece of land like in Tokyo, but I don't want to build a modern structure, that will dismantle this 200-year-old house, and then they will bring it and rebuild it there again in like brand new condition. And so it's a really interesting company, but definitely not cheap.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, it sounds very interesting.
Homes, yeah. I think there have to be gaijin dudes that are running it, because everything their Instagram, their YouTube, everything is like all English. And even they were hiring in English. And they were actually looking for somebody. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be kind of cool to work for them. But then they're like, you have to have like N1 or N2 Japanese. Is like, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. I got a ways to go before I can get to that point.
I should be, man. I've been in Japan 7 years, dude. It's a joke. I'm like, it's starting to be like my mission is not to learn Japanese, I think.
Well, don't feel bad. I mean, I was in China for a while, and I can speak some Chinese, and I can do anything that I need to do in Chinese, but
right.
Being there for that long and not having a really high level, it could be considered as bad. But you know, another thing is that my girlfriend that I had for like 3 years there, she could only say a couple of words in English. She could say yes, no, and okay. That was pretty much it. Everything else between us had to be done in Chinese. So being with her actually made my Chinese go up a lot more.
No,
And
so she doesn't help me at all.
well, she had no choice because she couldn't speak any English, but she had like 4 sisters. So her mom and dad had 5 daughters, and sometimes we'd go out to eat dinner together. So it was like me and all of her sisters, me, her, and all of her sisters, and she would try to bash me and about how bad my Chinese was and how I needed to learn more Chinese. But all of her sisters liked me, and they would just turn on her and bash her because she couldn't speak any English.
Yeah.
So he's trying. He can speak some Chinese, you know, but you can't speak any English at all. So
Yeah.
she would just have to sit there and sulk, you know, and drink her beer.
Well, I mean, I know Spanish, so I'm fluent in Spanish, and I also speak some Italian too. So then, and I understand Japanese rather well. So I people say like, why haven't you learned? I'm like, well, I have all these other language stuffed in here. So there's not only so much room and time, you know.
And everybody wants to speak English with me. I guess that a lot of people do that with you, but even if they can help you and spend some time, there is
a frustration with me too, though. Like, I think, yeah, I should learn. Actually, one of my friends, he made me join the N5, the JLPT test. So I'm gonna take it in December, but I'm not gonna get it. I'm gonna fail for sure. But it was kind of like a motivation to like study some. So I have been studying a little. We'll see.
Well, do your best.
Yeah. So let's do one more question. I'm gonna let you go. I'm hungry. I haven't ate dinner. So.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah. Well, the only other question should be easy for you, I think, which is, is there anything that we haven't talked about or touched on that maybe you would like to share, or do you have any final thoughts? Or if so, feel free to share.
Final thoughts. No. I would say that anybody who's considering wanting to do it, just do it. You know, if that's where your heart is, just do it. You know, why not? Life is short. You know, do what you want to do. Enjoy.
And don't care what the neighbors say.
Yeah. Don't worry about the neighbors, you know. Don't
Or
worry
the
about-
mother-in-law.
Yeah, or the mother-in-law, or the wife.
Well, that might cause some issues and friction, you know.
Wait. Can I say that again? So then, in case my wife watches this,
Right.
I totally cared about her opinion, and we had to be on the same page before we made this decision. And but know what you want to do, and again know the cost. Know your capacity of your capabilities of what you're going to do, and I think if that's what you want to do it, and go for the ride. Like you took the plunge and you did it. You know, you didn't let anyone dissuade you. There's always naysayers. You know, like when I left the United States, I don't know how many people told me don't leave. You know, and you're crazy and you're stupid for leaving, and you know, it's just follow your dreams and do what you want to do. You know, if your dream is to live in Japan and your dream is to buy a old house and live that kind of Japanese lifestyle and that look, then do it. You know, why not?
Yeah, I agree. I had a lot of the naysayers too, family and a couple of friends, but especially family.
Because that's the question people ask me. They're like, "Oh, you know, I live vicariously through you, and I really enjoy, and what you're doing is something that I want to do." And they're like, always ask me, the question is, how did you do it? And I jumped on the plane and I just went, you know, like, did you have a job? No, I just landed and I did whatever, you know, and here I am. So that's what I tell people. I had a friend who wanted to leave the United States too, and he wanted to go to Spain. And he goes, how can I live in Spain? You know, because I was living in Italy at the time. And I said, sell everything you have, jump on a plane and go.
You know, it reminds me of like the Bible verse where the guy goes to Jesus and says, right, you know, what do I need to do? And he said,
follow me, right?
Sell everything, give away all your stuff, and follow me. And then the guy walks away sad.
Yeah. People don't want to let go of their life, you know, like, oh, I got to sell my car and my house, and I don't want to let go of I have a dog. And well, then there's your answer. That's what you want in life, you know? If this is what you want, do it. If you can't get rid of all this, then don't do it, you know?
Yeah, this is another reason why if I could tell my daughter again directly, do not get married right now. You know, she's so young, and nothing against marriage, because actually I want to be married. I really hope that I can be married again and soon. But when, you know, I hear about all of the young people before they even figure out who they are, where they want to be, you know, what they really want to be doing with their lives, they jump into a relationship and they create a life that has the dog and maybe even the kids and the attachments and all of the things that are keeping them in one place while they're wishing that they were somewhere else and living a different life. And that's sad. I don't want that for her. I don't want that for anybody. But even in China, people would say, "Oh, Brandon, I admire your life. Your life is so awesome." And I would say, "What are you talking about? Why is it so awesome? I'm teaching English in China. I'm not doing anything, you know, that's really special." And they said, "Yeah, but you can travel here, you can travel there, you can go live where you want. You're living in another country." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess from your perspective, it seems like you're kind of in a prison," because that's the way they view it.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
But that's the thing, you know, you have to sacrifice something. You know, you can't take your whole life with you from the United States here. You can't bring all that here. So there's a lot of sacrifice to it. I'm not going to say that there aren't things that I didn't sacrifice, but that's just it. You know, you can't have everything.
Yeah, and don't make choices on fear, you know.
Yeah, but
Follow
don't
your gut.
choices on blind faith either, right? You know, like know what to expect. I don't follow what Instagram and like YouTube and influencers, you know, lead you to want to believe, right? Because obviously the Western viewpoint of Japan is completely skewed. It's not what people think, right?
Yeah,
So,
you're right.
and that's
I
not
had that conversation earlier at
Too.
school.
I was skewed when I came to, right? You know, because when you visit as a foreigner, just as a tourist, it's completely different than living in a place. But I learned that. I had that expectation already because I lived in different countries. So I knew, you know, it's not some romanticized idea, you know. So I was very grounded. And as long as people are grounded and they know that, then they should be okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I've heard the phrase before, Japan is not like anime.
Yeah.
You know, when you come here, it's not
It
the
is.
same.
Well, you don't think so? It is.
Well, this is what I feel. I feel that when you come to visit, it's very much like anime, you know, because you're just here having a good time and you're seeing things for the first time and you're traveling around and everything is like, oh, especially in these big cities like Tokyo. It's just like you see in the you know, in some of these animated films where, oh, even in the anime films, you know, they make Tokyo into this big thing, you know, oh, Tokyo, you know. And now when I see that in a movie, I just kind of roll my eyes. Not that Tokyo's not good, because I love Tokyo, but even in the movies that come out now, it's kind of like in the US where you see a movie and the person has this dream of going to New York City and making it in New York, and when they get there, it's just a little person in the big city and they're like, oh, New York, and they're playing some music and they're showing all this cool stuff. Oh, New York's so awesome, you know. And I just go, whatever. It's kind of the way I feel now when I see stuff like that. But since I've been living here and working here, it's like the amount of anime type Japan is not nearly as high as it was when I just came here as a visitor.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like pulling the curtain back, you know, and seeing what's operating, the machinery behind the scenes, you know.
It's a complex country, right? It really is. There's a lot of complexity to it, you know, good and bad, right? So
yeah. If I didn't like being here, I definitely wouldn't be here. But I haven't.
My wife says to me, like, sometimes the way you talk, it doesn't sound like you like Japan. It's like, and it's like, look, man, it's like if we were living in America, I'd have a million things to complain about too, you know. And so I have my complaints there. So just let me complain.
Well, if there were a perfect place to live, I would definitely be there. But everywhere I've lived so far, it's.
Man, I lived in Italy and I lived in other countries, but like people say, like Italy must have been like the Shangri-La. Like, why would you ever leave? I'm like, I hated it there. You know, like what you experience as a tourist and what you experience living there is completely different. And so that's what I say. Yeah, like Japan will not fit every single person. It doesn't fit certain lifestyles, and so. If you were going to live here, I would say come for 6 months, see what you think. You know, after 6 months, you know, the veneer wears off and then you really start to see what to expect, right? So.
Yeah, I agree. People need to spend some time here before they decide to stay here long term, but they should know.
Yeah, buy a house, invest in something like that, right?
But, all right, Danny, thank you so much for a really long and awesome interview.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for being my first victim.
Yeah.
my very first interview for the channel. I really appreciate you taking the time and giving me such great answers.
Your future videos, and hopefully you recover quick enough so that we can start seeing some renovation. I want to see some teardowns and some before and afters.
Well, I am too, man. I'm really, really wanting to tear that ceiling out. I know you told me that it was going to be messy, and I realized that, but I really want to see that roof, you know, that thatched roof in there, and I want to tear out that kitchen and get the new floor built and get some cabinets in there.
It's going to be messy. I said it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm
See,
just being positive.
it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, for me right now, it doesn't matter what the job is as long as if it requires more than walking, it's a nightmare. You know, that's how my energy level basically is.
Yeah.
But you know, there's something coming up real soon that might give me some time off.
That's great.
It's possible I might have to take some extended leave from work, and if that happens, that means I'll get a lot more rest than usual. And you know, I go to the hospital often. The doctor's really nice here. I've never had such a nice doctor in my life. So I don't know if that's typical of Japan doctors, but maybe not. I don't know.
I
But
haven't had good experiences, but
yeah, you know, my girlfriend's a nurse, and I've got a good doctor, and it just feels like people are stepping in where I needed them to step in.
Yeah.
And that includes you being here for the interview, and I really appreciate that. And I hope that we can continue in whatever we're doing. We can continue to grow. And if there's anything that I can do for you, then definitely feel free to reach out, and I'll do what I can.
Sure. Likewise.
Okay. And I guess we'll end it there, and I'll say have a great holiday weekend, and go spend some time with your family.
No, I'm gonna be here renovating actually.
Oh man, well, you know, try not to spend too much time there. You know, make sure if your wife can't be there to help you, make sure she doesn't feel neglected.
Nah, she's not neglected. She gets more than she deserves.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good to hear.
Thanks,
Awesome.
thanks, Brandon. We'll see you.
All right, Danny. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye bye.
See you.